Chapter 10, Section 3, The Labor Movement. In the late 1800s, workers in America's industry faced a set of painful facts. Their pay was low, and they worked in dangerous and unhealthy conditions. Their homes were often equally dismal, and their children had little opportunity to go to school. Whenever the economy slumped, life got even worse. Employers cut workers' pay or eliminated their jobs. Perhaps most distressing of all, individual workers had little power to change their circumstances. They could not bargain with employers, nor could they seek help from the government, which did little to regulate working conditions. Workers unite for better conditions. In the early years of the Industrial Revolution, some workers developed a strategy for improving their lives. They formed labor unions. A labor union is a group of workers organized to protect the interests of its members. Historically, most labor unions have focused on three primary goals: higher wages, shorter hours, and better working conditions. The first worker organization in the United States appeared in the late 1700s in New York City and Philadelphia. By the mid-1800s, local unions had formed in many other cities. Much of a union's power came from the threat of a strike, a labor action in which workers simply refused to go to work. A strike could easily shut down a factory, railroad, or mine. Unions generally used the strike as a last resort when owners would not sit down to discuss the issues. A difficult start for national labor organizations. After the Civil War, local unions began to realize that they might benefit from cooperating with each other in order to achieve their goals. As a result, a number of unions joined forces to form a National Labor Federation, or group of unions. This federation focused on efforts to establish an 8-hour workday, but poor leadership and lack of unity led to its collapse in 1872. In the mid-1870s, an economic depression inflicted more damage on efforts to create national labor unions. In times of economic crisis, high unemployment intensified the competition for jobs. Some business owners used this competition to undermine unions. They pressured workers to sign yellow dog contracts, written pledges not to join a union. Owners would not hire workers who did not sign a pledge. They also exchanged a list of union members and organizers, refusing jobs to any worker whose name was on these blacklists. Yellow dog contracts and blacklists discouraged workers from joining unions. Common goals, different strategies. During the Depression of the 1870s, business owners' tactics succeeded in smashing many labor unions. After the economy regained its strength, however, the labor movement also revived. A series of new national labor organizations arose, bringing together various unions under one banner. One of these new federations was the Knights of Labor. It attracted many members in the late 1870s with a policy of accepting both skilled and unskilled workers, including women and African Americans. However, the Knights declined after 1886, in part because of competition from another federation. That rival group was the American Federation of Labor, the AFL. Unlike the Knights, the AFL concentrated mainly on organizing skilled workers. It also had a more narrow focus on bread-and-butter worker objectives, such as higher wages and shorter workdays. Founded in 1886, the AFL became the only major national labor organization in the 1890s. In the early 1900s, another labor organization arose, the Industrial Workers of the World, IWW. Its members were nicknamed Wobblies. IWW leaders introduced radical ideas into the union movement, adopting the socialist theories of the German political philosopher Karl Marx. Socialism is a political theory that advocates ownership of the means of production, such as factories and farms, by the people rather than by capitalists and landowners. Its goals are the elimination of private property and the fair treatment of workers. IWW members saw socialism as a path to a better life for workers. In practice, each of these national labor organizations acted as a union. They engaged in collective bargaining, negotiations between employers and employee representatives concerning wages, working conditions, and other terms of employment. They also called strikes when collective bargaining failed.